With Pokemon Sun and Moon shaping up to be a new generation, I thought I'd make a fun video on what new Pokemon would be cool to see. Some of these are a little out there, but it's all for fun because Pokemon is a fun game and not a serious life issue. Ain't that right, PokePro Joe from the comments section? You're not funny and all your opinions are wrong! Every time, Joe, every time! As I was saying, these ideas are a little out there, but I think they'd be funny additions and some might even be right. So while some of these are bound to never be in a Pokemon game, others are ones that I think might actually be in the next game and would be kinda cool. So without further ado, let's begin our top 5 new Pokemon for Pokemon Sun and Moon. Number 5, a Husky. I'm just a big fan of dogs, specifically German Shepherds and Huskies. So I'd really love to see a more detailed Husky Pokemon in the next game. I mean, Mightyena is kind of Husky-like, but it's supposed to be a hyena, and I'd really love to see a real Husky just to add to my collection of favorite dog Pokemon. I think a good typing for this kind of Pokemon would be an Ice Normal, or even an Ice Dark. It does seem like all these type combinations I want for this Pokemon would make it 4 times weak to fighting, but why would you kick a dog anyways? That's just rude and illegal. Don't do that. I think it would make the perfect Pokemon to find later on in the game, on a snowy mountain, and maybe even have a sled that you could have them pull as your new Pokemon transportation thing. I did say that the game feels kind of tropical, so I don't know if they'll even have a snowy area. I really do love that kind of atmosphere, and would love to see a Pokemon like this pop up in some beautiful winter scenery. Number 4, Cutlery. Man, we just went 0 to 100 real quick, from a cute, friendly dog to Pokemon Silverware, huh? Well, like I said, I doubt this one will happen, but I think it would just be hilarious to have more inanimate object Pokemon. It would probably be a Fairy Steel or Ghost Steel, which wouldn't be too bad, and would also be a wonderful dining set to have under a chandelier. Then all we'd need is just a Pokemon table and we'd be set for our meal. I might have been watching too much Beauty and the Beast recently. Regardless, this is probably very unlikely, but it might happen. And when it happens, those who laughed at me will go, guess he was right. And then I will have the last laugh. I just think it'd be a hilarious gimmicky Pokemon for fun. You could even make new ways of getting a Pokemon by breeding a Fork Pokemon and a Spoon Pokemon to make a Spork Pokemon. Alright, this is just getting weird. Granted, they don't have to be different Pokemon so they don't end up filling a bunch of slots in the Pokedex. It could just be the same Pokemon, but different forms, like Unknown. But it'd be kind of cool. Kind of. I really just want more random object Pokemon, even if they end up being bad, so I can complain about them in another top 10. What a great cycle we're having here. Thank you, Game Freak, you're helping me out by making Pokemon Forks. Number 3, Chibi Magical Girl Doll Thing Pokemon? I don't know how to explain it, but we can get through this together. Alright, this is another weird one, so let me explain before anyone jumps to random conclusions on what I mean. I think that this kind of Pokemon seems to fit what Game Freak would want to go with to advance the understanding and story behind fairy Pokemon. I feel like they'd end up making some weird Toho looking Pokemon, or like that time Brock and Misty got turned into dolls and then used that as the base for an actual Pokemon. Especially with how they presented Valerie as this really mysterious gym leader in Pokemon X and Y. They made me think she was either possessed by a Pokemon or was a mystical fairy Pokemon pretending to be human. I think a better looking, more human version of Smoochum or Gothitha would be the outlet Game Freak would use to advance the plot of fairy types and to explain their meaning a bit more. Number 2, Food Pokemon. I really should have eaten before I wrote this top 5, huh? I know we have an ice cream Pokemon and whatever the heck Slurpuff is, and you could technically eat almost every fish/animal Pokemon because I mean, they're probably like animals and fall into the category of food. But anyways, let's just have a real meal Pokemon. Like maybe a steak, or a piece of cheese, or a hamburger. Essentially what I'm after is taking every single fighting food on and turning it into a Pokemon. If you tell me that Fryslinger and Sir Dumpling wouldn't make a good Pokemon, I know you're lying. Or actually Grimace from McDonald's. If Game Freak is teaming up and forcing me to download a Hoopa at McDonald's, just give me a Grimace Pokemon while you're at it. It's not really food, but he could be a deformed grape, or a fat raisin. That'd actually be a good name for a rapper. Fat Raisin. All I know is they're probably gonna make another food Pokemon, and I hope this time it's a healthy, hearty meal, and not just some candy or sweets. Imagine if they made 5 different Pokemon that combined into one big food Pokemon. Oh, that's what they should do. Not even just with food, but in general. They should make like 5 different Pokemon that combine into one. Let's go, I'm hype. Wow, that was a lot of random content for a section of a top 5, huh? It's like bonus content. Well, you're welcome, I guess. Number 1, human Pokemon. Now, while I know there's already a bunch of human Pokemon, what I have in mind is a little bit different. I already technically mentioned something similar at number 3, but what I had in mind for this specific type of Pokemon will be a lot different than any of the other previous humanoid Pokemon. With this whole new Ash Greninja thing and Valerie seeming like she's a fairy Pokemon, I think it would be cool to have a Pokemon that could be mistaken for a human and could actually speak, similar to Mewtwo in the movies, but who actually does the same thing in-game. I'm sure they've done something like that in the anime, but I still think it would be cool to have a Pokemon that could communicate with humans like a wandering traveler or samurai that you don't suspect to be a Pokemon until it reveals itself after bumping into you and helping you along your journey. I think that would make a cool standalone legendary Pokemon, and add a different story or side quest to your normal travels. I'm not sure what kind of typing it would be, maybe a fighting steel or normal fighting, but I think this might be the kind of Pokemon Game Freak would add in the future. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Let me know in the comments below what new Pokemon you'd like to see, and what you think of these somewhat weird ones I made. But please make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and check out some more of my top 10s. Until next time, keep on catching.